books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. One of her advocacy transforming workspaces into wellness spaces. And of course, the author of the book, The Ultimate Workspace Toolkit, no other than Miss Alessa Caridi. Welcome, Miss Alyssa, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure. Thank you for having me. My name is Alessa. I am the Power Posture Pro. I help tired, hardworking bodies that sit in front of this all day long or stand, depending on your workspace setup. I teach people how to sit, stand, maneuver around their technology because proper posture is your first line of defense against stress. And when you're stressed out and you don't know how to stop it at its start, it can spiral out of control, which can ruin your workday and really just lower your output, meaning you're not checking off those things that you need to get done on your to-do list. You're thinking about something that is other than getting things accomplished. And when we can align our bodies, we can approach our workspace in a healthy way, we're really able to succeed. And then we have enough energy to do things that we love, which is hanging out with our families, going to workout classes, going to events, socializing, whatever it is, you're going to have enough energy because you learned how to approach your workspace, stop the stress at the start, and check off everything off of your to-do list.
Yes, definitely. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Alyssa Caridi. Thank you. The title is a bold statement. Why your chair is not a problem. Can you walk us through that fundamental flaw or a conventional ergonomic approach that focuses on heavily on the perfect static setup?
Well, I call the word ergonomic my workplace dirty word because people are constantly looking for a quick fix. Let me buy, the perfect sit stand desk. Let me buy the perfect chair. Let me find this perfect mouse or this weird looking keyboard. And once I buy this, all of my problems will be solved. But in all actuality, all you're doing is you're supporting a bad habit with an expensive accessory. And so when you use something that is supposed to support your body, but you don't know how to use your body first, that's only going to support a bad habit. Does that make sense?
Makes sense,
And
Miss Alyssa.
And so from there, my goal is to make sure that you know how to use your body because you only get one of them. There's no trade-ins, there's no upgrades, just like you can do with chairs and desks and tech and all of that. So once we learn how to align our body properly and really support and make it strong, then that way, then we can approach our tech, then we can approach our setup and make our workspace setup fit our body instead of the other way around, instead of buying something and just slouching into it and saying, now I'll be able to produce. We don't want that to happen anymore. We want to make sure that you can support your body so that as you can age gracefully, you can lower your stress, and you can be more productive.
You mentioned that the real problem is not how we sit, but that we sit and sit still for so long. What does the
Mhm.
latest research in, well, posture of psychology tell us about damage that even well adjusted ergonomic chair cannot prevent?
Well, the one thing that I will say is that when you're sitting and you're sitting for a long periods of time, that people tend to think, okay, I'm instead of sitting, I'm going to readjust to standing at a workspace. And standing has the same problem as sitting, just in the opposite direction. Now, just as I mentioned, that posture is your first line of defense against stress. That's great. But once the stress inevitably creeps in and you're sitting up and you're engaged and you're doing all the right steps, posture can still break down. It can still, even though it's your first line of defense against stress, tends to happen that the enemies, the anxiety, the fatigue, the imposter syndrome can still break through that first line of defense. So that is when sitting or standing, depending on the way that you set up your workspace, needs a little extra support. And so the only way to really make sure that you can continue with your workday in a completely productive manner is to have a healthy work schedule. Now, I don't mean that from 9 to 10, this is going to get done. And from 10 to 11, this is going to get done. That's fantastic. If that's how you need to organize your workday, go for it. When I'm talking about a healthy work schedule, I'm talking about making sure after 50 minutes of completely focused work that you spend 10 minutes moving around. Now, that could be going up and down a flight of stairs. That could be walking the perimeter of your workspace. That could be simply writing on a piece of paper away from that blue screen, using your hand-eye coordination to focus on something else. Physically removing yourself from your work is not going to take away from accomplishing through your day. Instead, what it's going to do is it's going to re-energize your body. It's going to realign your body to understand that brain-body connection so that you can live healthy. And then it's going to put the rest of your workday into perspective by simply stepping away from your computer and seeing that you have a refrigerator full of food. You have that party invitation that's hanging on your wall. You have other aspects of your life that you work so that you can, enjoy things around you. By putting your day into perspective, that's going to help realign everything, as well as getting that blood flowing so that then you can stay focused and fight the fatigue.
Stay focused, people. Stay focused. The ergonomic arms race promises a fix through equipment. How does commercialization of workplace wellness actually prevent us from addressing the root cause of physical strain and fatigue?
Oh, I mean, just like I had mentioned before, you're relying on something that will ultimately end up in a drawer or forgotten. And how many things do we purchase in our lives that are not work related, but we promise to use, and we think it's going to make some aspect of our day, our life, our surroundings more manageable, and then it doesn't do that. That's the same thing applies for workspace stuff. Maybe it works for a little while. Maybe you can stick with it for 10 days or even 20 days, but eventually you say, I don't want to wear that gadget that reminds me to sit up tall. I don't want to snap on something that buzzes and tells me I have to walk around again. But instead of relying on those things, if you can set yourself up for success and not buy the stuff, meaning focus work for 50 minutes and do something else for 10 minutes, you don't need the accessories. It doesn't cost you anything. So put away the stuff. Stop buying the stuff. Don't get sucked into the next fad, because that's just going to be cluttering your drawers, emptying your bank accounts when you don't need it. It's not necessary.
Mm-hmm. Not necessary, people. So many people experience pain and the seek for a better chair. What are the telltale sign or the telltale signs that discomfort is coming from a lack of movement and variability, not from a poor ergonomics?
So I think the most common one, I'm looking for something to demonstrate, is something people twirl a pen, they bite through the pen, they bounce their knee. And then one of my favorites is mindlessly kind of rubbing your shoulders and trying to soothe yourself. All of these motions are your brain trying to soothe the stress, trying to soothe the pain, trying to soothe the anxiety. And what it's actually doing is it's taking brain, if you think of your brain as a whole, like as a giant circle, and when you start to mindlessly twirl that pen, part of that circle is getting the focus is getting taken away from your work, and it's going towards twirling that pen and keeping that pen in your fingers. And as you start focusing on this pen and start worrying more, less of the focus is going towards the work, is going towards what you actually need to accomplish. instead to twirling that pen. And when those signs, when those signals start to hit your body, if you're bouncing your knee up and down, all of those things, once you can catch that, you can stop that. At that point, you should say, okay, my brain is trying to soothe away the stress, is trying to soothe away the anxiety. And so, you know what? I'm going to press pause. I'm going to push myself away. I'm going to tuck my chin to my chest and roll all the way down and put my hands on the floor and take 5 deep breaths and then roll all the way back up again and go refill my glass of water. Those are 2 easy things that you can do to put everything into perspective, to release that tension, that bouncing knee, that twirling pen tension, and then really say, okay, I'm acknowledging the stress. And now I'm taking a deep breath and I'm going to get back to work. I'm going to accomplish.
Hmm. Interesting tip, Miss Alisa. And let's talk about the movement center or centered alternative. Your alternative is a movement center. Does this mean we should abandon chairs and desks entirely, or is it about redefining their role in dynamic workday?
No, I honestly think that you need a designated workspace for your work. I'm not an advocate for working on a couch, never in a bed, any other place that you can think of. You really need to set yourself up for success. We already do too many things in too many, blurring over the different spaces. You should really, when you pull yourself up to a workspace that's designed for your body, your brain should be able to say, okay, now it's time for work. So I'm a big advocate for, this is my workspace, this is where I'm going to work. Just like when you go to a dining table, this is where I'm going to eat. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to focus on my food. And the same thing goes for when you sit on your couch, that's where you're relaxing. But when you start to blur those lines and you sit at your dining table and you eat, maybe while you're working, you're taking away that focus. The same thing goes when you go sit on your couch and you say, okay, let me write this email. You're watching your TV. You're not focusing on your actual work, on being productive. And so that's the concept of working wherever, or working on a beanbag chair, or moving around, or even some of these chairs that are designed to help have you like kneel and then sometimes sit cross-legged. Those are signaling to your body that I'm just going to get comfortable here like I am on my couch. And that ends up working against us. So we really want to get a designated space that says to our brain, I'm going to sit correctly at my workspace. I'm going to make sure my feet are planted. I'm sitting up tall. I'm really checking my posture here so that way I'm signaling to my brain, this is time to work. It's not time to relax. It's not time to eat. It's not time to scroll on social media, whatever it is that you do. This is where I'm going to be productive and I'm going to check off my to-do list.
Interesting, Miss Alyssa. For someone is a traditional office, what are the 3 to 5 simple movement snacks they could integrate every hour that are more effective than one long gym session after the night of 8 hours of stillness?
So the first thing I'll say is I'm not here to replace your gym session or whatever it is, your long run, whatever it is. Those are still fantastic. So keep doing that. But we want to make sure that we are stopping stress at the start, that we're building a strong body that can endure, right? Because we want to create a body that can spend the 8 hours that our job requires of us to sit or stand in front of our technology. And so simple things that you can add into your workday to help you with that is a quick posture check. That's number one, right? Posture is our first line of defense against stress. There's 3 steps to that. Check your feet, take your eyes and look down at your toes, making sure that all 10 toes are pointed forward and the whole foot is flat on the floor. So you're not rocking in or out. By actually looking down at your feet, you're establishing that brain body connection, like what I was talking about when you realign your body so that you know where you physically are. That's the first solid point here. Then you're going to sit up as tall as you can. You're going to imagine that there's one strand of hair that's pulling you up towards the lights. You don't want to stick your chest forward forward or your bum backwards, because that's messing up your S curve, your natural S curve. So instead, you want to think tall from the top of your head. And then once you have that tall feeling, you're grounded through the floor, you're just going to shake your head. No, I'm not ready for my work day. But yes, I'm going to practice proper posture. I'm going to approach my workspace with this proper posture, right? I'm not going to go back to the sitting and crunching over our computer, right? You're going to approach it that way. That's the first thing that you can do anytime that you feel fatigue or stress, or you start chewing on that pen. That's what you can do there. Then throughout your workday, I like to call them health interruptions, where you can walk up and down a flight of stairs. That's probably my favorite thing to do, about 5 times every time that I go and do it. It's great toning for your bum. Then I'll walk the perimeter of my workspace. I tend to do this if I'm listening to a meeting while I'm like taking notes, or if I'm doing something that doesn't require, if I'm a passive participant. If I'm an active participant in something, I definitely make sure that I'm sitting and I'm focused. But when you walk the perimeter of your workspace, make sure that if you walk it clockwise once, that then you walk it counterclockwise the other way. Same, like this tip goes for everything that you do. So if you're going to stand up, reach your arms all the way up towards the lights, making sure that you're all as tall as you possibly can be. Then you're going to drop your hands, neck down to your sides. You're going to tuck your chin to your chest. You're going to roll all the way down to the floor. Put your hands onto the floor or on your knees if you need a little bit of extra support in your flexibility. Shake your head yes, shake your head no. Slowly roll back up again. You're nice and even. You're balancing your body. That's the big goal here. Another thing that we do, at least I know I do, I'm a coffee drinker. And when I get focused and I'm focusing on my work and I get in there very often, many times, my coffee gets cold and I don't like cold coffee. So I end up reheating it. And when I go to the microwave, I find myself standing there for a minute, minute and a half. And that's a perfect time that you can say, you know what? I'm going to commit to 30 squats right here. You can pick your favorite your favorite positioning of your feet. You can do the 30 squats. That is a perfect health interruption, because not only are you getting away from your tech, but you're adding healthy movement there so that when you get back, you can sit down at your desk and you can focus on your work. Does that make sense? Is that helpful?
Makes sense, Miss Alyssa. Makes sense. As an author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Personally, like professionally, or are talking about work? In what direction are we talking?
Professionally, for sure.
So my goal is always to affect as many hardworking bodies as possible. The biggest thing that I'm getting in my inbox as of, I would say, like late summertime, which I thought was really interesting, because I do a lot of these talks where companies hire me to go in and just give a talk. And I share a lot of the information that I just shared now, always a little bit more, because there's always some certain things that I hold back on. But what's been happening is I've gotten multiple emails now from people that say, I've started to add your suggestions, but my boss doesn't get it. And I find that interesting, because the boss, whoever that means, whoever that is within the company, is the one that hired me. So they want me to help their employees get healthy. And then I make these suggestions like health interruptions throughout your workday, proper posture, using these, walking times. I also talk about scheduling walking meetings, a lot more goes into it. And then I get these emails like, but my boss is telling me to go sit back down and go get to work. And so now my goal professionally is to start to steer in the workplace culture kind of shift mode. So I've started talking more directly to CEOs, to the actual decision makers, to help them create healthy work days, so that when we start to give these talks more frequently at office spaces, they not only see why they should be doing it, because they are sharing this information with their employees, but now they can benefit it like for themselves. Teaching people who are high functioning, have very, very crammed work days, to say, okay, you know what? taking these little tiny health interruptions, even if it's 30 seconds to 3 minutes, can benefit them. And so that way, when they, look out their, their office, kind of glass doors, or out their doorway of their office, and they see people walking around or stretching at their desks, they're not thinking like, oh, they're not being productive. They're thinking, oh, they're taking a break so that way they can check off their to-do list and get through everything in their workday. So I'm talking about a little bit more of a cultural shift, which I do realize is an uphill battle, but that's where I'm charging full force this year.
Well, good luck to your goals, Miss Alyssa, and looking forward for more success professionally.
Oh,
And
thank you.
you're most welcome. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Oh, check your feet. It's amazing how much your body can be aligned if you just take your eyes and make sure both feet are on the ground and you're sitting up tall. You're not tucking one foot underneath your hip. You're not crossing your ankle over your knee. You're not bouncing. You're quieting your body and you're starting from the bottom. So make sure you put both feet on the ground and sit tall. And that way you're working on your posture and you're going to become more productive because your proper posture is your first line of defense against stress.
Well, empowering advice, Miss Alisa. And can you please recommend a book or books that influenced your journey?
Oh my goodness. There's so many books that have influenced me. I'm right now, I'm reading a lot about brain health, and it's more articles, not quite so many books, because I think my own aging body needs that too, and my own um I don't know, just family situations. So I've been reading a lot about just not really about health in the workday, but about autism and how when your brain ages, especially as a female, the different uh, minerals and supplements that your body needs. So I mean that's really what I'm reading a lot of journals about that kind of thing.
Well, thank you for that, Miss Alisa. So, looking forward, how might technology and AI be harnessed to prompt and facilitate healthy movement patterns rather than further tethering us to our seats?
Oh goodness, that is. I feel like that's a very everyday changing thing, because sometimes I read about how AI is going to help, doctors solve problems, and then I hear about how AI is going to be the problem with doctors, and it's not going to really focus on the individual. So I'm a bit hesitant to kind of make a blanket statement about how it's going to help. But the one thing that I will say is that I have all of my movement videos with obviously stored on my computer. Everything that I have created is in my computer, and my AI has access to that. And the one thing that I think is really fantastic is on Monday, I go in and I say, I need my movement for the week. Here they have access to my calendar, it has access to my videos. I want to make sure that every part of my body is moving throughout my day, throughout my week. Make a schedule for me within the 50-10 ratio, meaning the 50 minutes that I'm sitting at my workspace. I want the 10 minutes of movement to follow that, and give me what I should do. And that has been the most fruitful use of AI for me in my total body health, because every once in a while, you guys get stuck. You do the same workout over and over again. You're getting bored. And this has been the best way for me to be able to find variety and stay focused on everything and stay focused on getting my work done.
Miss Alyssa, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please don't listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in sixth season as well, comedy 101 third season, and my food 101 in sixth season as well, geography 101 love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 our fifth season, Science 101, Sex 101 in a fourth season, Trivia 101, Law 101, Mental Health 101, Motivation 101, Entrepreneurship 101, and of course, Bible Verses 101 are my baby podcast. So, Miss Alisa, to end with a clear call to action, what is the one immediate change you want every listener to make after this conversation to take their first step beyond ergonomics?
Well, I would say if you want daily movement that is sent to you, that goes directly to your inbox, I send a free email every week that has links to moves that you can do as well. And that easiest way to do that is to pop over to my TikTok and click that link in my bio, and you can subscribe right there to get the moves and also get a free posture tutorial sent directly to your inbox. So at Alessa.Caridi on TikTok. And well, I hope we can connect there.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Alessa Caridi because if you support her for sure, more and more movements will rise. So, Miss Alessa, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, people. See you soon.